Alright guys, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this Wood Elf vs Beastmen showdown. It's going to be myself with Mel Gibson facing off against Subutai, who's going to be coming in with Morker the Shadowgave here on Oakenshield, so should be quite a bit of fun. We're going to be sounding the horn of the Wild Hunt once more in the deep, and Orion doesn't come alone. He's going to be coming with his girl here, Ariel. So we got Soul Stealers, we got some healing, should be great. Now, as far as the build goes, it's going to be Dryads with Treekin. Just looking to have a more melee-centric build. Obviously, I think that's going to be synergistic with Orion. And I feel like he's pretty underrated. You pretty much never see him in competitive domination, but I actually feel like there is a place for him. He's still a huge raid boss, like super fast. He causes terror, anti-large, unbreakable, has a couple anti-infantry spells with the Hawk's Talons and the Hounds of Isha. Like he brings a lot to the table for sure. Ariel, on the other hand, is a little bit of a tougher include, but I do think her Berry Wine is pretty good if you're going to be using like Lost Sylvan Knights. This was like an old land battle strategy when the DLC first came out for Wood Elves. You were seeing Ariel in like every game with Lost Sylvan Knights because she just has a free fat heal for them in tandem with her baseline healing of Apotheosis, and there was a time when Ariel was unbreakable too, which she was pretty damn strong back then. But Soul Stealer is a pretty good spell. So yeah, that's going to be it. And we do have some Glade Riders up in front for Subutai's forces. It's going to be the dreaded Beastmen herd. So we do have Ungor Spearmans, Gore herds in the back, Raiders to kind of pepper down my Dryads, Morker just to be disruptive. And he basically just drops Chaos Spawn and sits on an objective and is a raid boss for sure. You guys probably remember. Anyone who's been around a while probably remembers the days of Warhammer 2 land battles when it would just be like Morker versus like half of a beat up army and it would take like 20 minutes to kill him. It's still a thing, but obviously you can win on points now, so you don't have to worry about that as much. So one thing I really wanted to experiment with this game was using Glade Riders on like a really big open map and seeing how effective the skirmish could be. So we're going to be trying to use our Glade Riders to poke, and we do get a little bit of HP off that Jabber Scythe, which I was very, very happy about. And now the forces of Athel Lauren going to be advancing up towards Objective 3 and then pushing out towards Objective 2 here. So that was overall the game plan. So the battles will begin very, very soon as we start to call in some War Dancers on the side, and the Dryads engage against the Blackhorn's Ravagers, who will beat them in head-to-head combat. Blackhorn's Ravagers are a pretty gnarly unit, bro, but yeah, they definitely get in there and bash some skulls. But I do have the Treekin, and Ariel's going to be jumping in as well to support, as Mel Gibson and the Treekin on this side get ready to do battle. I was throwing spears initially at the Jabber Scythe, but now we're going to throw one more spear, if I'm not mistaken, and get into combat there. We'll see where he goes. And in the back, we do use the Hawk's Talon, but really nice dodge from Subutai, so he does dodge that one, and I don't quite get the bombardment there. Orion running past Morker, not respecting him, and just kind of deciding to head somewhere else. Looks like there's going to be a Chaos Spawn summon in the back, blocking up my archers, which are trying to shoot the Jabber Scythe. As far as the flank fight goes, we do get War Dancers moved in. With the Shadow Coil active, I think it's worth it. Their bonus versus infantry will compensate for their lack of melee attack, and 62 melee defense is just too good to pass up on. So basically just kiting these guys back. Orion having a little bit of a hard time deciding where to go, so he's going to be moving into combat here and starting to do battle. But realistically, I probably should have just been chasing after the Jabber Scythe. But easier said than done. A couple of Glade Riders pulling back, just shooting at any of the beasts deciding to chase them, while the old War Dancers continue to peel away at these units. And it looks like there are going to be some more spears screening me out, which is quite nice. Now, Ariel getting shot by some bows. Orion in the backfield is, I could have sworn I gave him an attack order. Maybe he was throwing the Javelin or something, I'm not sure. And now he's going to get his sight sets on the Butchers of Kalkengard, as Ariel putting the game on her back here, dropping a fat Soul Stealer, which is quite good. Hits the Blackhorn's Ravagers, a Gore Herd unit, heals Ariel, who of course is in combat with Morker, and it looks like Morker is actually getting smacked up a little bit. And now Orion's coming to satisfy the grudge. So he's going to move in there with his anti-large attacks, and for sure should be able to spear down some of the bigger targets. Looks like instantly taking down a Minotaur, which is a good grab, although it looks like he just knocked it down with his mass. That does happen sometimes. It's very, very strange in this game, but more War Dancers on this side, but Subutai with a very nice response. He does move the Jabber Scythe over, which is a hard counter against these War Dancers, so I probably need to retreat from this situation. Not looking great. Granted, I do have a little bit of missile support as the Glade Riders put some hurt into the Butchers of Kalkengard, and Orion starts to pick off some models here from the Butchers, so he's certainly doing some work. Glade Riders with spears on their way in. They do lose the Centaurs, which is unfortunate, but I just wanted to provide a little bit of support for the War Dancers, trying to get those missiles up and around and push back the Jabber Scythe, which is going to be retreating. And overall, I'd probably take a little bit of an L in this situation. But on the positive side of things, the Butchers of Kalkengard are starting to take some big casualties. Orion probably sitting at a respectable amount of value as he does start to grind down these very elite Minotaur units. And in the middle, Ariel and company were forced back, but the War Dancers still holding with their high melee attack. And the Horn of the Wild Hunt is active, baby. More War Dancers moving towards Objective 1, and it looks like it is going to be abandoned by my opponent, which means it probably will be a freebie for the Wood Elves. Now, looking at the value on the table, it's pretty even. I'm down by about 600. I do have healing, though, but so does Subutai. He's got Morker the Shadowgave, so a little bit of healing on both sides. Here, Traderkin going down, nasty spell. I always say, like, and I have been told this before, I think if Traderkin was on another roster, it would probably get like nerfed somehow. But the fact that it's on the Beastmen just allows it to kind of run under the radar. It's basically a final transmutation that costs like less winds of magic and just does like just as much. It's very, very good. So objective 2 owned by the Beastmen. Far side objective most likely going to be flipping. The War Dancers are on that. And here we get a pretty good situation. The Jabberslythe is in a little bit deep in my backfield as the Archers and the Glade Riders here put some good hurt on it. And Orion is going to be shanking this thing down with his anti-large spear. Butchers of Kalkengard causing a little bit of disruption. My Archers are getting slightly caught up in melee, but overall this trade is very good for us. Orion's got to be sitting at quite a bit of damage done already. And if we take a look at the man, he does get staggered by a couple arrows, but currently sitting at about 800 value as he is going to continue hunting the Jabberslythe. And Orion has pretty good mass too. He can definitely push through things. Far side objective taken by the Wood Elves, and right here Ariel, the Treekin, and the remnants of the War Dancers still fighting away on this point. And the Jabberslythe's going to be coming back over to cause me some havoc and, discord, causing some problems. Now, as far as my next call-in goes, I believe it's mostly War Dancers that are going to be getting called in at this point. A little bit vulnerable against all the firepower. Orion hunting down the Jabberslythe, and we really, really need to kill that thing. It's been an absolute menace. Ariel saving up for another Soul Stealer, which would be really devastating against his Beastman position. And Orion gets a great pick here. So Orion and Ariel do find the caster, so the husband and wife duo. Oh, look at that, man. You're looking embarrassing in front of your lady. I don't know how Orion got knocked over there, but he must have tripped on something. One of the Beastmen threw a banana on the ground and he fell over. But it's not before the Bray Shaman of the Wild does get smashed and actually breaks, so that was a really, really nice pick. Potentially shutting down some of the Beastmen magic for now, but nonetheless, we need to keep working on the Beastmen herd here, dropping the Awakening Acorn, which is one of the items, or it's some Acorn of the Oak of Ages, something that Ariel has. It's an okay crowd clearing spell. Far side objective 1 under our control. So at this point, I felt like I was kind of wasting money by having the War Dancers sit over there. Wood Elves are fast enough that I'm like, okay, I can, respond with something out of Vanguard if I need to, with like some Dryads or whatever. So let's get here. Let's try and capture this middle point. So here comes the War Dancers. War Dancers hustling across. A couple of my archer units holding it down, providing a little bit of capture weight. But the Beastmen do respond with Razor Gore herds, which will be slightly difficult to remove for sure. So Orion hunting the Beast. Jabberslythe getting very, very low. Ariel going to be coming over there as well. Shouldn't really be wasting my time with Morghur. Anytime I can avoid it, I should be avoiding it. He's not worth spending the time to kill. I mean, I guess you could. Orion and Ariel might be able to, and that would be a big leadership penalty for the Beastmen army, but I don't know. I felt like, the escalation of commitment, right? You got to go for the Jabberslythe here. So another bombardment going down. We have a lore duel for sure. Morghur the Shadowgave and Orion duking it out. Orion does not do magic damage, strangely enough, even though he's like an elven demigod, which is strange, but he's going to be bashing on Morghur here, and I guess Morghur doesn't have any physical resist anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but yeah, spell resist is what it is. Back in the day in Warhammer 2, that did matter, but Ariel's hunting down the Jabberslythe, and I have to say, this has been like the most elusive Jabberslythe. It hasn't really done a lot, but it's occupied a lot of my attention, which has been a bit of a problem. But Beastmen using their really, really quick kind of Vanguard infantry to sneak up on me, so I didn't see the Ungors approaching the objective, which definitely was rough. So he was able to creep up on the objective without me knowing. One of the cool strengths of Beastmen and Domination is you can, when the battle's chaotic, you can have these Vanguard stealth units come out and grab objectives from your opponent, which is rad. But the Dryads do arrive to the point, and Dryads will just crush Ungors. I mean, they will just dominate them in combat. Although, they will not beat an Ungor as well as a Gore herd. They will most likely lose that 2v1 fight. So Archer's still kiting around, being caught by some of the Bray herd. Far side objective. Unfortunately, Orion getting a little bit beat up here, although we do almost kill Morghur. Shit was getting real, real wild here. And the Traderkin goes down, brings him down to a fair amount of HP. But Orion does have a pretty good item called the Cloak of Isha, so when he gets low, he starts to heal, and he gets 20% ward save, which makes him hard to kill. But Ungor Raiders and Spears are exactly how you take him down. You just want those cheap poking attacks. So out of desperation, we do call in Glade Riders with Spears, which are going to be compromising the Archers, and Orion should be able to escape and hopefully get a little bit of healing. So the objectives are really, really scrappy. Overall, the Beastmen have been able to kind of maintain them. My healing is certainly keeping me in this game. I would say the trading is, looking a little bit tough at 1400, but I have used several heals. Ariel is healing capped, Orion is healing. So realistically, the value is probably pretty close, but the Beastmen do have more swarming infantry on the battlefield and really nice Ungor Raider positions that are generating consistent value, so they've been able to kind of hold it down here. So Apotheosis activated on Orion, Dryads grinding through, trying to get a terror out here. Orion, if I'm not mistaken, does cause terror. Yes, he does. So should be able to terror out some of these foul beasts off the objective here, and maybe the Dryads are going to be able to flip it. Blade Riders finally get these archers down, but Ungor herds do arrive. Couple Treekin, the Firebark Elders coming out of reserve with Dryads, so things are looking a little bit better for us. Side objective looks like it could flip. Middle objective certainly under pressure as our Glade Riders are just chasing down all these cheap Ungor archers. We get a couple War Dancers who do end up catching these Ungor Raiders. Unfortunately, that damn Bray Shaman came back. That guy's been a son of a gun this whole game. 2200 value. I feel like those guys carry so many Beastmen games. the Traderkin spell. It's so good. It only costs 11 wins, and it's basically just a final transmutation, which normally costs 18. But, you know, classic CA, they just always, they're always overlooking shit like that. But here we do get Glade Riders moving on to objective number 2, and the Butchers of Kalkengard still hanging in there, but looking a little bit low. But Mel Gibson does manage to claim objective number 3 with the Tree Cannon, and the Beastmen are basically completely routed here. So we do get those objectives. Middle objective we can't quite flip. You know, that time is pressing too. You know, it can sneak away from you. The games do seem long, but over the course of a long battle, you know, it can flip on you for sure. Dryads and Treekin going to hold it down here, and we're going to be calling this healthier units of Dryads and moving to the middle to try and contest that objective against the Bray Herd. Jabber's Life is still going strong. That guy's been an absolute champ and could be a big MVP in the fourth quarter of the game. Now for the Beastmen, Ungor Spearmen coming out in reserve, which makes sense. You know, as the game gets later, spears become better because people often start summoning out cavalry out of desperation to get things on the battle. Here I do call in the Wild Hunters of Kurnus. So Wild Hunters of Kurnus I figured would be a good answer against all these like Centaurs and Razorgors, which has been chasing my archers this entire game. So definitely need to hunt those guys down. I also had a bit of a hard-on to hunt down that Jabber's Life. I was like, we need to get that thing. Take the beast down. So Orion going to be duking it out with Razorgors, and he should be fine there. 2,500 HP, plenty of room before his healing cap, and overall Terror Route's going down as well. And the Wild Hunters of Kurnus is going to be slamming back here and space jamming into the old Centaur core. Hopefully doing some good damage. Horn of the Wild Hunt active, 105 charge bonus, pretty fat. And here you can see they do start to melt the Centaurs very quickly. So overall, not a bad engagement for them, but they're expensive. They cost 1,500. And in a game where you're behind on points, you know, maybe summoning infantry would be more prudent. But, you know, I felt like just bringing out the old hammer, baby, and sounding the horn of the Wild Hunt. So we'll see if it ends up paying off. So a couple Treekin moving on to the point. Now we're going to be getting our big blob and moving to the center. But I do have a lot of cavalry units against a lot of crappy spear units. Beastman armies mostly chaff. Morker the Shadowgave just kind of waddling, trying not to get hunted down. Trying to, you know, stay out of the gaze of Orion Hero. The master of the Wild Hunt's going to be keeping tabs. Wild Hunters of Kurnus do move in and do get ambushed by Ungor Spears. That didn't feel good. So at this point, they're going to be pulling back, maybe looking to pressure the side objective a little bit. A smart play here for sure would be to go run down these Gores or maybe head over to objective 1 and try and pressure that a little bit and soften it up for later. But Orion and the Dryads going to be taking the head-on fight, and they should be good. Dryads will counter these Ungor Spears all day. Granted, there still are some Razorgors nearby, but their low leadership is really nice because the Terror Routes are going to be start just buckling these Beastmen off in waves, right? So we charge in there. Get a nice little punishing damage into those Gore Herds, and now the Wild Hunters of Kurnus going to be heading to Objective 3, going for a Ninja Cap, so I grabbed the Remnants of my Glade Riders, as well as the Wild Hunters, and we're going to head to Objective 3, and hopefully be able to wrestle that point. We'll have to see, but Dryads and company getting through, a couple Raiders shooting in, and it looks like on the far side, the Jabber's Life and the Butchers of Kalkengard looking like they want to party, and War Dancers heading here. I knew I needed it, like, triple cap was going to be a reality here. So I'm pressing all 3 objectives, which is risky. Sometimes it can backfire on you in the sense that if you had just committed to this one with your Lord and stuff, you would have won it. But I feel in this situation we needed to get that, right? So Wild Hunters of Kurnus, we do see the incoming Centaur, so they're going to be lowering their lances and getting in there with their anti-large attacks. Should be pretty effective against the Centaurs for sure, and you can see the Centaurs are getting melted a little bit, but the Beastmen have a lot of reinforcements coming in. A Jabber's Life, Minotaurs, lots of scary stuff so far looking to Valley and the Wild Hunters. Only 500, a couple Tattered Dryads on their way back in, War Dancers on their way with the Shadow's Coil, hopefully will be helpful. And Orion and company getting worn down in the middle, and the Beastmen really just fighting tooth and nail to hold on to this point. Thankfully, War Dancers should win most of their fights. A couple Glade Riders with spears made their way in and are hunting down any scraps we can get. And at this point, we decided to pull back. The War Dancers could have came over and helped, but with the Butchers of Kalkengard, just the sheer numbers the Beastmen had, I figured pulling the Wild Hunters of Kurnus back would be the right play, and reallocating my resources to the middle and just trying to win that one with, you know, Orion's Terror and all that other good stuff like that. So side point is held by us. No Beastmen pressure on that one. Looks like the Beastmen very heavily invested on the side point here. In the back, we do get more Glade Riders coming in, so the Glade Riders are called out for reinforcements for the Wild Hunters of Kurnus. At this point, they should be able to beat the Centaurs and or Hounds. It's going to take a hot minute, but eventually they will get the job done, maybe opening up pressure options on that other point. And here, Orion just kind of taking these spears down, trying to terror out the capture weight that the Beastmen have off the objective. But here with 2 War Dancers, we should have the capture weight to get this one. So we do flip it, but I got to hold on to all 3 of these. And if I have any one of these get flipped again, it's going to be tough. So another Traderkin coming in. So the Bray Shaman of the Wild is on its way in. And yeah, that thing is looking to cause some havoc. Yes. I can't remember the last time I saw a Beastmen player do anything else other than use Traderkin. It is just that good. So you'll see it lasts for 11 seconds, lower speed down. It's going to do a ton of damage. Thankfully, Orion's healing is going to keep him from just getting gooned by that. And here we do hunt down the Jabber Scythe with a couple loose cav units, but unfortunately for me, it's going to be surviving. Here the cavalry doing good work and pushing back the Chaos Warhounds. Butchers of Kalkengard also on their way in, but thankfully, the Wild Hunters of Kurnus are an anti-large cav unit, so they should be pretty effective against the very tattered Butchers of Kalkengard here. Meanwhile, we struggle to hold on to the middle. It's looking very dicey. I do have War Dancers, but there's a lot of Beastmen capture weight coming in. Ungors, Jabber Scythe kind of teasing a little bit. Probably hasn't approached 1,000 value even, but yeah, it's still been something that's on my mind. Orion probably could throw some javelins at it and try and break it, but I wanted to kind of keep him in melee combat, keep him focused there. And here you can see we get a bit of a rear charge, but I'm certainly very nervous about a Traderkin. It's obviously on cooldown right now, but another Traderkin's going to be coming in and could punish this blob pretty heavily. Now on this side, we do manage to win it, so you can see we push back the Butchers of Kalkengard there. My 2 cav units do get to the point, but the middle point flips, and once again, there is going to be a big old Traderkin, which is going to be hitting my War Dancers, going to be nailing Orion, and a lot of my good quality units, which is very, very tough. And sneaky Blackhorns Ravagers on their way in. And again, the stock. Like, you look at the map every now and then, you're kind of like, oh, is there any threat to the side point? Doesn't look like it. So you call in summons to go help the middle where the main fight is, but then you don't address this, which is very important. It's a point I already have, which should be protected, right? But that's one of the really cool, I think, underrated aspects of the Beastmen is that that's like a really interesting element of their playstyle. So Jabber Scythe sitting at 135 HP. This Jabber Scythe just has not heard any bell whatsoever. So Ryan's going to go and try and finish off the beast here. So he's going to be hunting it down with the Spear of the Wild Hunters. We do get more War Dancers in there. Some of them fighting. These ones probably going to be attacked by Centaurs. And Orion does get his Javelin. I believe the Javelin throw was the order, but we do have a Chariot as well as some Spears hunting. So he is being kind of staggered a little bit while we desperately call in some Glade Riders to hold on to this point. But another Gore Herd coming out is going to be able to wrestle that point most likely. As far as the middle goes, we do collapse from the other side, so the Wild Hunters of Kurnus clean this up, and here our War Dancers and Glade Riders might be able to get some work done, and finally this thing is looking close to breaking. Orion is going to get the ceremonial kill one way or the other. So the Master of the Wild Hunt coming in, and finally he gets his prey. You know, when he sees his prey, he gets it. So Orion does drag down the beast. It has fallen. Side objective completely flips to just a haggard Beastman swarm here. Now, as far as the middle goes, War Dancers and company might be able to do something. And the Wild Hunters of Kurnus are in. The objective does start to flip, and we do have some War Dancers and Dryads pushing for this point. So I know if I can flip the middle objective here, we might be able to have just enough time to get the side point. Granted, it's getting very, very dicey here as we move in. Rear charge coming. Hopefully Terror Rats will buckle the capture weight, and it looks like that's going to be the case. You're probably going to see an instant Terror Out on these Ungors, and these ones are going to Terror Out as well. So you can see, look at that. The Terror is so strong on Orion, right? Really underrated stuff. As we do see the objective start to flip, and that one's going to be going to us. Now, as far as this side point goes, Dryad's trying, but intercepted by Gores. War Dancer's up here, but I don't think there's going to be enough time, ladies and gentlemen. We do get the middle, but, you know, hey, another minute or two. We might have had a good chance, but the Beastmen did an excellent job with their ambushes on objectives, getting good value, taking out Aerial, keeping that Jabber Scythe alive. All little plays that were very, very clean. That was a super fun game. Really, the heavy carry for the Beastman was the Traderkin. That thing got like 3,000 value. It's an insane spell, as I've said multiple times during this cast. So if you guys are a Beastman player, don't bother with any other Lords of Magic. Just bring Traderkin. It's really, really good. 1,200 here, 1,760 here, and looking at the rest of the forces, it was a good old honest scrap. Now, I liked Orion that game. 3,500 value is great. Aerial didn't do bad. The Treekin and Dryad playstyle was, I suppose it was decent. War Dancers obviously usually trade pretty well. And how did the Archers do? 800, 900. Okay, I respect that. Yeah, everything performed pretty well. It was a really, really close game. So I'm not like disappointed with the build. Obviously, to make it more optimal, I would probably cut Aerial and get some sort of a different caster if I wanted to go with Orion. But her healing isn't useless, right? She can still do some work. So GG, well played. We'll see you guys next time. And yeah, that was a great match. Adios, my friends. Take care.